This story right here is very reminiscent of a lot of different stories I've done in the past when it comes to black cops and how they get treated in the department when it comes out to the handling of justice, or not so much justice, but when they're doing or carrying out the deed in which they see fit. And this is nothing new. And when I came across this story, my thoughts really ran to the story about the little boy who was with his dad in a high-speed chase in the front seat, and his dad got pulled over by two black cops, and they tried to defuse the situation, but he decided to try to use his vehicle as a weapon, and then to try to protect themselves, one of the cops shot into the back of the window, and one of the bullets went into the body of the little boy. And of course, the little boy happened to be PC, just like his dad. Now, what ended up happening is, instead of the dad being charged the way he should have been, they ended up charging and locking up the two black cops that were there just doing their job. And this was right on the heels of what would soon come out to be that Blue Lives Matter bill. I forgot what year it was, but I do know that it happened in Louisiana. Then you hear about so many other stories about, Muhammad Noor is another example. He was doing his job. He ended up shooting, Justine. I forget her last name. I'm not calling her by the name that she was supposed to be married by, because in my eyes, she wasn't married. And he ended up getting 15 years, but I think they did some rearranging with his sentencing. Again, even though Muhammad Noor, he's not FBA, in the eyes of society, he will be still seen as a black man because he's a Somali American. And we've heard of other different stories where black cops, they get caught up in situations where they have to issue out what they see fit when it comes to dealing with PC individuals. And that brings us to this story right here that is also coming out of Louisiana, with these two cops whose names is Isaac Hughes and Jonathan Lewis. Isaac is on the left and Jonathan is on the right. So basically what happened is they got into a dispute with this PC man whose name is Christopher Christopher Valley. And he was 32 years old, and he basically was not complying with the orders that was given to him by the cops and by these two. And he did something to trigger one of them or both of them, and they opened fire on him and they ended up killing him. Now, when it comes to PC, they love to tell us that we need to stop resisting. We just need to comply and stop resisting. But they don't ever apply that to themselves because they think they're above the law. A lot of them do. And I guess this guy in this instance felt the same way. Well, they did what they had to do. They understood the assignment. Unfortunately, the assignment didn't understand them because they didn't get treated with the same level of, I guess you could say, respect that their PC counterparts would. Because instead of these two being placed on the typical administrative leave or the desk duty, these two were instantly hit with manslaughter charges. They were arrested and hit with manslaughter charges. These are their mugshots right here. Now, keep in mind, the person they shot and killed was resisting and he was not complying with their orders. And he did something for them to have to use their gun. But opposed to if this was flipped and that Christopher Valley was the cop and one of these two guys were the ones that's quote unquote resisting, he would have got desk duty. See how that goes? And the thing is, people can't say that this is an isolated thing anymore because it happens way too often. But what really got me is the fact that this happened in Louisiana, which was the same state where the story about the boy in the front seat, where that occurred. And the results are the same because you have two, like in that story, you had two black cops. The only difference is there was no child involved, but the stories almost are exactly the same. And the results are almost exactly the same as well. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article that's coming from WAFB. Two Jefferson Parish deputies who shot and killed a man who refused their commands to get out of a running vehicle last week in Marrero have been arrested on manslaughter warrants and fired from the department. Now listen to that. They were arrested, charged with manslaughter, and fired, all within the same week. And when they're fired, they're fired. There's no transferring for them. Sheriff Joe Lapinto said Monday night. Lapinto announced the arrest and firings of 29-year-old Isaac Hughes and 35-year-old Jonathan Lewis, each of whom who've been on patrol duty for the JPSO for 2 years or less. The deputies have been placed on administrative suspension since they shot and killed 32-year-old Daniel Valley on February 16th outside what Lapinto described as a known crack house in the 500 block of Wilson Street in Marrero. Lapinto said Hughes and Lewis were among 5 deputies who responded to a neighbor's noise complaint at the location and tried for more than 12 minutes to convince Valley to step out of a vehicle parked outside. Valley refused their commands, Lapinto said, and when he turned on the engine while facing the deputies, weapons were drawn. Lapinto said footage captured on deputies' body-worn cameras and interviews with the JPSO personnel at the scene confirmed that when Valley hit the horn on the vehicle, one deputy opened fire and the second joined in firing multiple shots. Valley died at the scene, authorities said. Mr. Valley had every opportunity to cooperate and to comply, Lapinto said. There was force that was clearly justified at this moment, but it wasn't deadly force. This was extremely unfortunate for everyone. Lapinto said JPSO investigators considered a range of possibilities from making no arrest for a justifiable homicide to booking the deputies with negligent homicide, manslaughter, or even second-degree murder. Ultimately, he said detectives found no criminal intent to support a murder allegation, but did find probable cause to seek warrants for manslaughter. Manslaughter in Louisiana is punishable by up to 40 years in state prison upon conviction. However, it will be up to District Attorney Paul Connick's office to decide what charge the former deputies ultimately will face, if any. There is defense here, Lapinto said, based upon his belief that the deputies had genuine fear for their lives during the encounter. Well, one good thing about this is that this Lapinto character is seemingly he's on their side. Like, he literally is sticking his neck out for these two right here based on what it is that I'm reading. So it's not like he's completely throwing them under the bus. But at the same time, look at how quickly they arrested them. They got arrested and charged and fired instantly. When it comes to PC, arrested, what is that? Charged, what is that? Fired, what the hell is that? And all at the same time. With them, they'll stretch it out. Look at Breonna Taylor and the situation with her. Came into the home with a no-knock raid, went to the wrong damn place, shot it up, killed her, almost killed her boyfriend, and they're just now going to trial. And it took them how many months to arrest even just one of them on some low-level charges at that, but was quick to arrest Kenneth Walker and throw him in an orange jumpsuit. Thank God for Judge Olu Stevens. And I mean, there's a laundry list. Look at, like I said, just look at how fast they acted with this one. The story about the other 2 cops, Muhammad Noor. Notice a pattern here. How fast, if you are a black cop, how fast you will get arrested and charged and fired. If you dare harm one head on PC's head, even if they deserve it. And forgive the noise in the background. That's just the notifications coming from the Discord. But yeah, it's pretty damn obvious. I mean, come on. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. But I will say this to all the people out there who are, black, cops and whatever. Now I see why many of you tiptoe the way that you do. And if I wish I could be a fly on the wall to hear the conversations that go on in some of these departments. But like I said, there's a very stark contrast between the two. A very stark contrast. And you're seeing it play out with this story right here and the other 2 examples that I gave you. I mean, it's a pattern. It's an ongoing theme. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you are new. Make sure you hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.